Hello, everyone, and welcome to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host.
Wow.
Okay, I'm
Maybe
your
maybe
host.
back off on the caffeine there, Boomer.
You know what? I don't think I've had caffeine today, actually. Oh, I had some. Or I had an Arnold Palmer. I guess that counts. Anyway, Agent Boomer here. Here's my co-host, PaPa Pacelli.
Hello.
What you sipping on?
I'm actually having a Diet Dr. Pepper just because it was available and it was cold.
I have something very special. I got an A&W root beer in a frosty cold can.
And are you holding it with your pinky and your thumb like
Oh,
a
we've had this.
mug?
Yes, I am. I am.
There
Exactly.
you go. You are now.
You'd be amazed if you could just see it. Oh,
Hmm.
I do this like a pro. Anyway, I like how the can looks like an old barrel. You know,
Yeah.
with the
Yeah,
foam
yeah.
on top, and it's made with aged vanilla.
Nice.
You know,
Nice.
I believe them when they say that.
Yeah.
It's like a big thing of vanilla that's been there 100 years, and they just take it from there.
I don't know when they do something like that, and even if it's like faked, it's just artificially flavored. I'm like, but they understood the flavor enough to get it right. It tastes good. Okay, even if it's fake, I'm okay with it.
So let's see. Have a great show, geezers, and that pick. Yes, I know how we all love Anna de Armos on this channel.
Yeah. See, this is I'm learning. I'm learning on the thumbnails. Go for the clickbait. Anna de Armas might be a little bit more bait than usual, but just
You should put her on every thumbnail.
I know, right?
That needs to be a thing now. Okay. Matanui, hi, hello. Netter of Netter's Network, I get a hi, sweetie. Thank you.
Yep.
Troy Pacelli, hello, love of my life. Oh, was that personal? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
maybe I should have broadcasted.
I love you too, Netter.
All right, who else we got here? D Pensec.
Grab your Geritol denture cream and tab.
Darn it, I
It's
should have
geezer
saved that.
time.
I'll try to save that for next time. The
I
Pensec.
like that.
That. Grab your Geritol denture cream and tab. It's geezer time.
Hmm.
That tab's that's a Troy thing.
That is a Troy thing, but it is a geezer thing, right? Because it's a very '70s kind of drink.
I remember as Homer, he wanted to make himself morbidly obese so he could work from home and get a disability, work from home. So they deliver the computer,
I remember this.
monitoring the nuclear thing, and he presses, "I want a tab," and he keeps hitting the tab button, and there's no tab comes out, and he's mad.
Yeah. Wait. What was? Because the full thing was hit hit the any key. Well, where the hell's the any key? I don't see the any key. I see Esk, Guitar, and I don't remember Pugup.
No.
But there's no any key. Oh well, I'll just have a tab, and he hits the tab key, which of course is any key, and it starts. Oh, no time for that now. Gotta work.
Remember the episode where he says, I'm gonna do an internet startup company, right? Or he did something and he made some fancy name for it, and he wasn't actually selling anything. And then Bill Gates shows up his door, and Homer's thinking he wants to buy him out. And no, Bill Gates just has two goons with him, and they trash the room. Oh no! If I had to buy out everybody who I thought was my competition, I'd never make any money.
Right. But if you're gonna be a collector, which you and I both understand the concept of collecting, better to collect something that's gonna make you lots of money over time, right? Like companies. There's some companies that still understand that, but
Well, unless you're a group when you just buy
and of course
properties and
yeah, and David Pensek, donuts. But we're falling behind here. Did we get Joshua V? Hey, Joshua V.
Yeah, good evening, fellas. Good evening to you.
And Wakazashi.
You know what? Good evening, fellas. Watch the attitude, or you're out of here.
Yeah, right. Wakazashi Tea House. Stop by to say hi. It's Monday there already, so
really
happy Monday to you, and beginning of a new work week. Welcome to the stream.
All right.
And I think we're all caught.
Oh, look at this! Yeah, Wahashi's Tea House. Yeah, like I said.
And you know what? And if we did miss you, don't feel slighted. Just leave another comment, and then we'll see.
I may read them. We'll see. It
Yeah,
depends.
yeah.
It depends on what you write.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I have to
Got to
tell
be
you,
careful these days.
this was not an interesting week in news. I guess the big news was over the weekend. We kind of missed it with the note take. We the big D23 or D whatever the
Yeah,
D
I haven't
reveal.
even seen the
Little
anything that came
Mermaid,
out of that.
huh?
Or
The new Little
you
Mermaid
know
movie.
what? There's been a lot of those kinds of in quotes news bits this week, and it's like it's getting old. Is this even news anymore? Hey, guess what? We had another race swap. Hey, guess what? We had some more representation in inserts. You know, isn't even news anymore. In fact, I was just before the stream, I was watching the Master of TDS, and he literally had a whole show where he's just boom, 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 going through all the stupidity in the world this week. You know, that's this particular segment of his show. And they're just going through all the race swaps and all the virtue signals, and now I guess there's more from Dungeons and Dragons where they're saying that the winged monkeys from Wizard of Oz and their
I
representation
heard about that.
is and again it's like this is dumb and tired. You know, I mean, you have to be like 75, 80 years old to be making certain racial connections these days. You know?
You'd figure that side would just be bored with this shit already.
You
Are
know,
they having fun? Are they having fun making these movies and doing these doing the stuff with the games and everything else? Is this entertaining for them? Or are they
it must be.
themselves?
It absolutely must be. In fact,
I
somebody
don't know how it could be, but yeah.
there was somebody did a post about they were talking about the lead character in Rings of Power and kind of comparing her to Captain Marvel and saying, what are these people writing? I mean, do they really expect people to like these characters? And, you know, everybody's kind of ragging on it. And every now and again, I come in with that moment of clarity where everyone just goes, you know, whoa, you know, like, Bill and Ted, whoa. I said, yes, they are literally projecting themselves onto these characters. So, yes, they do think these are likable characters. They don't understand that they are morons and unlikable themselves.
Forgot what video I was watching. Maybe it was Midnight's Edge. Yeah, I think it was Midnight's Edge, and they were talking about the She-Hulk show. How they think the whole thing was that it was supposed to be a feminist show, but you have all these different kinds of feminists, and they're all writing their own version of what a feminist character should be like. That's why she's so inconsistent. And so
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, they're all femorons is what they are. Actually, that was a great comment. Let's hold on to that because that's going to be a nice the one from David Pensack.
But before we do that, I think we do need to pay our respects. Rest in peace to Queen Elizabeth II.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Longest reigning British monarch. Harold, I mean, there's a reason, you know, a lot of people are going on, why is she so beloved outside the UK? You know, who cares outside the UK? Look, this is kind of why we wanted to talk about her tonight, because she has a political place. There's legal, there's still a very important legal role that the monarchy plays in the UK, but more and more the monarchy is becoming a kind of representation of British culture. Mm-hmm. And the royals are like celebrities. In fact, there's a reason that we referred to, you know, Hollywood, you know, famous people as American, in quotes, royalty. So, yeah, I mean, it's and what Queen Elizabeth II specifically represents is, you know, kind of some wonderful memories in British history of a time when there was that real, stiff upper lip, what is that meme on the flag, carry on or whatever, that being strong and pulling together in hard times. We've mentioned, Netta and I have mentioned many times that her mom grew up in England during World War II, so she literally lived through the Blitz. And so we would get firsthand those stories about what it was like, just trying to live your everyday workaday life, and then all of a sudden there'd be air raid sirens, and you'd have to go hide as the bombs were falling. And then, after the all clear message came out, you'd dust yourself off, go outside, listen for sounds to let you know where your neighbors might be buried so you could help dig them out, and then you'd literally have like dinner and tea in the rubble with your neighbors. Crazy stuff like that,
Yeah, she was the second longest serving monarch in recorded history. She was a year and a half away from beating Louis XIV. Yeah. So.
And I'll tell you, literally worked until the last day of her life. Yes, she towards the end there, she had mobility problems and people had to go to her, but I'm like, for crying out loud, she's the queen. People should have to go to her,
Anyway, like I said, it's we knew this day would come eventually, but it's here, and just trying to think of any last words to say. I think actually, wait a minute. Hold on. Sorry. Okay.
What's wrong?
Keep calm and carry on. That's a deep.
Keep calm, carry on. That's what I was trying to say. Yes, thank you, David. And yes, Zetopia is right. She's the second longest serving monarch in world history. She is the longest reigning monarch in British history.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they'll have I guess they have a new monarch now, and
God save the UK now.
Well, there's a new prince though. Maybe that's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's hope for the future, anyway.
And Prince and Princess, Prince of Wales, I think is his new title, right? Prince William of Wales.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Okay. Well, it's a Queen Elizabeth.
Yeah. Here.
Now we have to talk about what was it this week in the disastrous world of Disney, right? Deep Pensick was saying that.
Yeah, exactly.
We're as a segment to our good old days. We want to
which I think is great. Yeah, because I remember back in the 70s growing up. That's of course what he's saying there is a reference to the Wonderful World of Disney, which was a weekly series on, I want to say ABC, but I can't remember now for sure, that would oftentimes feature televised versions of some of their films.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and sometimes just weekly specials and stuff like that. So Wonderful World of Disney, for a lot of us, was a way a lot of us saw some Disney films that weren't in the theaters anymore. But Disney had this, and again, this is something that I think I always have to front load, because I think we live in this age with physical media and streaming and everything, and if you didn't live through the advent of those methods of taking in entertainment, you don't realize that wasn't always the case. No. That like when Star Wars first came out, you saw it in the theater, and it was in the theater for a long time. They milked it, because once it left the theaters, they were done receiving their revenue on it, and you were done being able to see it.
How long did Star Wars play for in the theater? Did it like go from summer to like Christmas time, maybe? Or
I don't remember, but yeah, it seemed like it was about that long, and you
Maverick
just felt
played for a while this summer.
Yeah,
that's the closest example we can give you something modern, but yeah.
But yeah, and the other thing too was that, just like when you'd watch a TV show, and if you missed it, you didn't have an option to see it again unless there was a rerun, right? If they reran the show at some point, then you'd get to catch it. But that was a gamble. That was a crapshoot. And they didn't always have reruns of a show. Same thing with the movies. If you missed it when it was at its theatrical run, and people are talking about Star Wars, I didn't see Star Wars. Well, you're out of luck now, pal. Star Wars happened to be one, though, where they brought it back from time to time. Now,
yeah, I would expect probably before Empire came out, they did a special show.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. But unfortunately, that was, I think it might have been one of the first films where they started messing with it before they'd re-release it. Thank you, George
Lucas.
Lucas.
4 on there.
Yeah.
But Disney movies of the 70s, they were weird.
That was that era where they didn't have home video yet, but they wanted to be able to share these films with you because Disney had always was a big scatter volley type of method of putting out stories. They would, yes, they would do sequels. They would do the Disney version of some classic story or whatever. And then they would get these crazy off the wall scripts that were completely unique. And they had a ton of those. And they were just putting out, it seemed like a movie a week almost. And they had so much content in the late 60s, early 70s, all actually through the 70s, that they knew they weren't always going to be big commercial hits, but they were fun. They were just family content, just Disney film. I'll take the kids to see it. It was in the theaters for a couple weeks and then gone. But then what would Disney do with that movie? Well, they would put it on, like I said, the Sunday night
ABC movie of the week or family movie or like
Wonderful World of Disney, as they called it.
Right.
Yeah.
So they had that in the 70s. I didn't realize it was an 80s thing. Okay.
Exactly. They also would take, the old reel-to-reel versions, I don't know millimeters, but the films, and they would send them around to libraries and schools where, libraries got to do their story time or whatever. They'd play a 2-hour, Disney feature film. And local schools could do a little fundraiser, make a few bucks, sell some snacks, and show some of the movies we're going to talk about tonight.
So I'm thinking, I'm just going to pick one at random. Freaky Friday.
Oh, I loved Freaky Friday. Oh my gosh. Yes. I think that might have been the first film that I saw Jodie Foster, and I had a crush on her. I really did.
This is the switch. This is the classic. This might have been the first movie to do this. I could be wrong, but like when the child switches minds with the adult, and
honestly, if they ever did that before, I don't recall.
Neither do I.
But this definitely was the archetype setting film. Right, where Jodie Foster plays the daughter and Barbara Harris plays the mother, and they switch places, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because now they're both fish out of water because the daughter has to live the adult life for a period, and her mother has to go to school to keep up appearances, I guess, until they had to figure out how to fix this. And I know there was a big thing with the daughter. She was in field hockey, right?
Right.
And the mother's like, and she's doing really well, and she scores a goal, and they don't realize you scored on the wrong side of the field.
Right.
She never played field hockey because they probably didn't have that when she was growing up.
And I mean, and it was silly, and I think everyone could relate to it. Kids always, parents don't understand, kids don't understand, and when you have a story like this where they have to swap bodies or whatever. You get to realize, man, there is a lot that I don't understand. There's a lot my mom has to go through that
my daughter has to go through too.
Yeah, my mom has all this responsibility, and I don't see it, or man, I guess I haven't been paying enough attention to her activities to know what it is she does and what's involved in it and whatnot. And yet, if you don't think critically enough about those things, it's I'm an adult. I've lived through being a kid. I can handle that. No, it's a little different these days.
I remember Jodie Foster from her suntan lotion TV commercials. I didn't know these existed. I'll have to check those out.
I remember that. Yeah. I remember that too. Mm-hmm.
Let's see here, though. The Cat from Outer Space. Does that ring a bell to you at all?
Oh gosh, yeah. That was one of the ones that, like I said, went around in the schools. And I saw it. I saw that one at my school as a weekend thing. So this is the second movie, if I'm not mistaken. Both of these films that we've mentioned so far have been remade by Disney. Freaky Friday
got remade.
I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was.
With
and
Dwayne Johnson in it. That's
probably. But I know that Freaky Friday, of course, was with what's her name, the one from Halloween.
Lindsay Lohan, right?
No. Wait, yeah, Lindsay Lohan was the daughter.
Was the mom.
Jamie Lee Curtis, right.
Was the mom.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember
but
that.
I'll tell you what, the Cat from Outer Space. Just look at who was in that. You had Ken Berry, who you might not know the name, but if you saw the face, you'd be like, I know
that guy. All these movies had I know that guy.
Yeah.
That was
Sandy Duncan, who's, I'll be talking a little bit later about Sandy Duncan. Keep that name in mind. Harry Morgan, right from MASH, right?
Yeah.
Roddy McDowall from almost everything, but most recently for us, those that saw Planet of the Apes over on Big Al Presents.
Yeah, he was in everything. Did he?
McLean Stevenson, another MASH personality.
Okay, so what's the premise? The premise is that there's an alien
cat
lands
that
on Earth,
comes from space. The title tells it all.
The cat can speak. Could it actually talk through its mouth, or did he use telepathy?
I want to say it was telepathy because they didn't want to deal with the whole.
Let's not deal with the mouth syncing with the cat. But yeah,
and that was the other thing. The special effects, such that they were horrible. They weren't good. They were just passable enough to get the story right. And the cat had this. Oh, I remember the collar that he wore projected the telepathy. So if you took his collar off, he couldn't communicate.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I think Roddy McDowall was probably the voice of the cat, I would imagine. Yeah, right, because he
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, and it's I don't know, it was interesting because he needed a gold to he needed a gold brick to power the ship. I remember that.
That's right.
Because the other one got drained or something. And it's funny, I remember when they were exchanging at the brick, the other guy said, well, I'll keep the drained one. Maybe I could still use it for gold content. It was a weird little movie. I caught it on the Disney Channel. A lot of these I would catch on the Disney Channel because they would throw like a lot of these types of movies on there.
See, they definitely got their Sandy Duncan, yeah.
Strongest Man in the World?
Now that one I don't remember vividly,
neither do I, then.
but
that might have been a Kurt Russell one, but I guess not.
It does. There was that look, right? That it is Kurt Russell. It is Kurt Russell. Yeah. Kurt Russell.
I don't remember.
Cesar Romero, Ava Arden, right?
I think does he eat some special cereal and becomes the strongest man in the world? Is that what happened in it? I don't remember now.
I remember it vaguely, like a Popeye kind of thing. He'd have to eat the special spinach or whatever, and he'd get real strong. And that's kind of the thing, right? If he can't get that, he's lost his powers. So, and shenanigans ensue. Yeah, a lot of these films. You were joking about Dwayne Johnson in a lot of basically in a lot of remake Disney films today. Back then, Kurt Russell was the one that was in. He was. Wasn't he also in like the Shaggy Dog or something like that?
Was
Or
it the computer that wore tennis shoes, right? Wasn't
computer that
one?
wore tennis shoes,
So,
right?
yeah.
A lot of these very, very obscure films that, again, even for me, I have fond memories of them, but I saw them once and I don't remember the details because it's been so long. We're talking hundreds of movies they made,
Yeah, they were
and you
pumped
just
out.
consume them like this,
The Apple Dumpling Gang.
Oh, the Apple
I
Dumpling
remember
Gang.
having fun with that one. Don Knotts is just classic, regardless. So I like seeing him in anything.
That was one that I remember my mom had seen that movie, and then she recommended to me, "You're going to want to see this." And that was another one of the ones that my school picked up. So I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it in the school. Yeah.
Okay, and there was the Apple Dumpling Gang rides again.
Yeah, they did sequels, and back then when they did sequels, they were actually pretty decent sequels. They weren't like totally derivative. They were actually, good stories in and of themselves. And I guess that's what it came down to. They were good stories, not great stories necessarily, but good stories that were entertaining. And, sure, Freaky Friday had a little bit of a poignantness to it, but
Yeah.
most of them were just, or even, you could even, dig a little bit of substance out of the Cat from Outer Space, too. You got the government, evil,
Government.
alien protect, very E.T. type of story, but much more lighthearted than E.T. was. And E.T. was pretty, family friendly for the most part. But this was what Disney was back then. And this is, I think, a big part of why so many of us struggle with what we see coming out of Disney. We know what Disney used to be. We know how much fun Disney used to be. And there was a reason that Disney became such a big company. It was because of this kind of stuff. They weren't afraid to take a script and go, that's stupid. Yeah, go ahead, make it.
The Ugly Dachshund. I never saw that, but
I remember the title. I don't remember that particular film.
Did you see Bedknobs and Broomsticks? You saw that one.
Yeah, some big ones came out during that time too. It wasn't all just silly schlock. There's
Pete's Dragon.
Pete's Dragon.
I used to watch that a ton.
Robin Hood came out.
Yeah,
in the
well, you were
70s.
talking about the animated ones. Robin Hood, the Aristocats,
Aristocats.
Rescuers. Winnie the Pooh was a 70s movie. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. I know people think of that and they think, oh, that's classic Disney. But no, that came out of the 70s era.
Yeah, it
that
did.
was and of course, The Black Hole.
Which I think is a very underrated film. And it's another great example of Disney. Disney has had this ambitious but unfortunate methodology with films like this. I think of The Black Hole, which was basically a sci-fi update of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
I'd also heard at the time, I think they pitched it as an Irwin Allen style disaster movie, but set in a science fiction setting.
I can see that too. Sure,
how they were going.
I can see that too.
Oh, they're capitalizing on Star Wars. Well, I don't think they did in the beginning, because I think I think that was just a decade where you got science fiction movies.
And that's just it. I mean, they're capitalizing on Star Wars. If you really stretch what you're saying, if science fiction became popular, then yes, that's the case. But they weren't actively looking to, in quotes, rip off Star Wars. There's nothing Star Warsy about this. Maybe a little bit. They tried to go after the Star Wars marketing with the 3 3/4-inch action figures and stuff like that.
That's an after the fact thing. I don't think that was in pre-production.
Exactly. That was their marketing. But when they decided to make the film, they definitely were going for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The reason I say that is because later on they had a similar problem with what was that sci-fi cartoon that they did? Treasure Planet. The whole idea of using a sci-fi medium to update, some and personally, I think it's a good idea. In and of itself, it's a great idea. But you gotta think through how you execute it. And I think there's a a lot good about the black hole. There's a lot bad too. There's
You almost wish this was something they would try to remake and do it
I
right.
do,
You know,
especially these days now that we have better science understanding black holes.
Have you heard NASA pointing out? They did a video recently where I think they got readings back and they did a sound approximation of what a black hole sounds like.
Yeah.
Very eerie, and of course they say that we can't actually hear it because it's beyond human hearing.
Right.
So
Not to mention that if you were in a spaceship, orbiting a black hole, you couldn't hear it simply because sound doesn't travel through a vacuum. But yeah, there are vibrations, and those vibrations can be translated into sound, even if there isn't a medium through which you can hear it.
Rest in peace, Gary Nelson, the director of the Black Hole, who recently passed away. No, there's a lot to love in the Black Hole. I mean, it's very creepy and ominous when it starts out. You have it has a great cast. You have Anthony Perkins. Anthony Perkins,
yeah.
Good actor.
Yeah, very different actor.
And
Ernest Borgnine.
And it's like you have
another one of those actors that was in everything.
Yes. And it's just creepy. They're sent out because they haven't heard, I think, word from what happened with this observation station of the black hole. So they go out, and I think the one woman's father is running it, and he's like a Captain Nemo type. He's
exactly that's exactly the
little worse than Captain Nemo, because Captain Nemo, I felt on some level you could reason with him, but this guy's he's been out in space too long, and I'm not going to spoil if you ever decide to watch it. There's some creepy stuff in there for Disney.
Good soundtrack too. Really good soundtrack.
Oh, who did that? I think it was the guy that did all the James Bond soundtracks. Can't think.
I don't know if Birdman was here; he'd know for sure.
I used to know. Oh well, good score too. Yeah,
definitely worth checking out. But yeah, that's the other thing. You had these actors, like I said, with Ernest Borgnine and Ronnie McDowell and so forth, and they were in everything, right?
John Barry,
and
thank you.
I remember that my mom used to say, and a lot of people said this too, not just my mom. If you see an actor on Love Boat, that means they're has-beens. Now looking back, I'm thinking, no, that's not so true.
No,
that's just that actors back then worked, and they were in everything, and they were in good stuff, and they were in bad stuff, and they just were always working. So those actors that had that work ethic, yeah, they'd be on Love Boat because it's a job. I'll do this and then I'll go on to the next thing. Oh, they want me back. Okay, I'll go back on again. And it was regular money, right?
And you're better off. I'm sorry, even if your career is stalling, you go out, you do a guest stint on Love Boat, you're then in the public eye again. So then if you do show up in a movie, they'll say, "Oh, I liked him in Love. I'll go see it again." I don't think that's a bad idea especially if your thing is stalled. But yeah, you're right. We have actors like that now. I see actors that show up. Actually, to be fair, British actors, they'll show
British
up on
actors
as well.
Yeah. Professional actors that realize this is a job and I'm only as good as whether or not I'm working, and when I'm out of work, I'm out of work. They go, yep, I'll take that commercial and I will do this and I will do that and I will do other, and nothing is beneath me because I am an actor, not royalty. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah, and to be fair, I think modern actors, you do see them doing more stuff than they used to. Like when you and I were growing up in the 80s and 90s, I think there was always what do you call it? There was always, you're either a television actor or a movie star or movie actor.
Yeah, that's kind of gone. That's gone away now.
That's gone away now, yeah. But I remember that was like that for a while. For instance, I remember it was a big deal when Jodie Foster did a guest spot on the X-Files as a voiceover. This guy thought his tattoo was talking to him, and Jodie Foster did the voiceover. But that wasn't common, usually.
Well, but there was also a little element of a crazy person hearing Jodie Foster's voice that spoke too much to the kids of the 80s. So that was
right. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, deleted scenes. Wait a minute. Saw Black Hole in the theaters. The ending is too ambiguous for my liking, but still a fave. I knew a guy that read the novelization. He said like they went through the black hole and came out as like gods or something.
Yeah. It was see, that's the other thing. There's a little bit of 2001 in there too.
I remembered there was a great episode of Superman the Animated Series where the General Zod equivalent of that series. They called him General Jax, or I call him General Zod. That's who that was, and it was Mala, who's really Ursa, but they I guess they based them off different evil Kryptonians, but it was basically the General Zod analog. They had after they had actually ended up ruling another planet similar to Earth's, and they were saying, "Hey, look, Superman, I know you may not like us, but this place was in much worse shape than Earth, and we brought order to this planet, and they were worse off." So Superman's like, well, maybe I don't interfere then, because it's not Earth. And then of course he realizes later on that no, we were not a perfect people, but we were no different than you humans than the humans on Earth. We had our problems, but so he then helps the people on this planet get rid of General Zod, and he ends up sending them into a black hole. We never saw them again on the show. I don't know if that did it in for them or not. I guess that's one of those endings where maybe they didn't.
Yeah, but I get the distinct impression that they were going for the Phantom Zone kind of thing with that.
Yeah. Well, they already had the Phantom Zone on there, but he didn't have that with him. So
but they also had General Zod, and they didn't use him either. There's clearly some reason they wanted to 25% different that story.
Well, no, like I said, they did use the Phantom Zone in Superman. I'm getting off track here. We're talking about Disney, but I'm just saying they did use it.
Yeah.
They just didn't use General Zod for whatever reason. They just used a different evil Kryptonian. You could tell this is basically the entire General Zod story. Maybe they were not wanting to make it too close to the 79 Superman movie. They're trying to get away from that. I don't know what the reason was behind that, but I went off on a tangent.
That's okay.
Disney in the 70s, though, huh? Anything left to say?
No, I could literally go on for hours talking about all these really obscure films. If you happen to be someone who has Disney Plus or whatever, scroll through and look at some of these old movies. They're fun. I would encourage you, if you're not doing anything on like a Saturday afternoon, just pop on one. And give it a chance. I know how it is. You get into your first half hour, this is boring. You click out. No, watch the movie through, and you might really enjoy it. And in fact, I think if you want to watch these films the way they were intended, do it on an evening when your family's together. Yeah. Watch it together. Adults, kids, whatever. There's definitely, I don't think we do that enough either, where we get the family together to watch something. Yeah. We're usually in our iPads and our whatnots watching our own film, and I've seen a movie, but no one else in my family has seen it. Now I got nothing to talk to you about because I do everything myself.
As a babysitter, watch the movie with your kid.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Not that I'm telling people how to parent, but just
watch a Disney movie about a babysitter. You can do that.
There you go.
Obscure reference. Go check out Disney films and see which one I might have been talking about.
Interesting.
So, there you go.
When a Stranger Calls.
That's not Disney, you goof.
Hey, back then Disney was hardcore, like everything else in the 70s. Okay,
that's true. There was some intense Disney films too. That we've talked about that at other times too, though.
No, I'll say that the original 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, there's some pretty good acting in there from James Mason as Captain Nemo. I mean, they explain, they make him different from the one from the book, but they explain why he is out for revenge against all warring nations and stuff, because because I think his wife got killed and his son, and he's and I don't know, he has some good lines in that. I think he said something like "hate burns harder than love." I think that was one of his lines. Just okay, so getting back to modern Disney, Disney Plus. We have a review of Pinocchio up from the AV Club of all places. But like I say, we do everybody on this channel. I think we have a Blaze article coming up later. So but the Babysitter, the Netflix movies. I don't know. Is that a thing? The Babysitter.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know anything about that.
The call is coming from inside. Get out of the house.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I had to do that. Don't go check on the kids. It's too late.
It's kind of like Silent Green is people. Those twist lines at the end of movies.
Yeah, if you come home to your to your roommate lying in bed, and she's not talking to you, but you hear her humming "Oh Susanna, get out of the room." It's
There's
another
a
urban legend.
there's
Okay.
a deep dive reference there.
I remember Soylent Green though. I used to catch that. That did not have Ernest Borgnine in it though. It had another older actor. I don't remember. It also
No,
had a
no, so wait,
was that Ernest
who
Borgnine?
was it? I thought it was.
It could
Wasn't
have,
it
but there
Ernest
was
Borgnine? Yeah, I'll tell you what though. What's really rough about that movie is watching that movie these days and looking at the world around us and realizing they're trying to make that movie freaking come true.
Let me think about next week. That might be an idea for next week's Good Old Days, provided I don't forget about it.
Okay, I'll hold off on going too far down that rabbit
I'll
hole.
come on Friday. I'll be on Friday. Like, what were we going to do for Good Old Days? I was going to say we were going to do something. What was it? You don't remember, and I don't remember.
Make Soylent Green fiction again.
Oh no! Yeah, there you go. There's a campaign. It could be green hats. Make Soylent Green. Okay, in Pinocchio, bad creative choices. Clip this adaptation's strings. Okay, let me read a bit from this.
Yep.
Contrary to the beliefs of social media lurkers unhappy with equivocating reviews of their favorite intellectual property, Disney does not pay critics, but the studio does frequently and most nicely ask them not to reveal plot points that could be deemed spoilers. It is a request you might not think
there should be no spoilers in a live action remake of a cartoon.
From 1940, yes. In the case of Disney Plus's live action Pinocchio, over Robert Zemeckis has made choices so different and disastrous that they derail the entire movie. And of course, this review will not reveal what they are, but they make the difference between a misguided cover version and a disastrous reinvention. Live-action Disney remakes are best seen as the equivalent of Broadway musical versions. They add a few new songs, toss in some contemporary jokes, and throw a ton of money at special effects. Expecting the same kind of timelessness a second time is mostly a futile exercise. The State Fair might book a talented cover band, but we're listening to the original artists in our car or at home. This Pinocchio needed extra money or time because the animation either looks unfinished or deliberately cartoonish, and the title character's voice drastically changes from one scene to the next. Meanwhile, new songs by Alan Silvestri and Glenn Ballard lack the snappiness and easy rhyming wordplay of the classics like I've Got No Strings or When You Wish Upon the Star.
Yeah.
Fan of Carlo Collodi's original 1883 serialized children's book, likely never considered the Disney animated film its definitive adaptation, but rather one well-done interpretation that took plenty of creative license. That's an Italian book, just in case y'all in the chat didn't know. Italian author, right? Okay. The challenge, the challenge other cinematic versions have subsequently faced is that Collodi's source material requires considerable resources to do its spectacle justice, as well as a much more likable protagonist to marshal them around. As written, Pinocchio is a selfish brat who needs a dose of humility and eventually receives it. Robert Benigni's 2002 version stuck closest to the text, even as he tested the audience suspension of disbelief by playing the wooden boy himself. Did you see that version?
I did not. No, not that one.
Why didn't he just play Geppetto? Wouldn't that have made more sense? Or played like Honest John or somebody. They could put Fox makeup on him or something. I don't. Okay, I don't know. Was there an Honest John in the original book? Or was that Disney creation?
There was an analog. Yeah.
Okay. Matteo Garone's 2019 take probably struck the best balance between fealty to the source material and cinematic spectacle, shying away, perhaps necessarily, from some of Collodi's darkest moments, but largely recreating what happens in the text with lavish makeup and effects. Do you notice that a lot of these older fairy tales, like books like Hans Christian Andersen, Collodi, they're always darker than what we get in the Hollywood versions?
Yeah.
Is that a case? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we do talk about, everything's got to be dark and gritty. Can't it just be nice and fun? It's funny because that's exactly what Disney, we talked about in the 70s and whatnot. All the stuff that they would take and turn fairy tales into Disney films, and they would take some otherwise dark stories and just lighten them up and happy joy.
Oh, you don't want to know what the stepsisters did to their feet in the original Cinderella. I'm just going to tell you.
I know. I do know.
Consequently, a new version changing things again is not that big a deal, or at least shouldn't be a surprise to longtime fans of the story, but it may bug those tethered to the 1940 take. Robert Zemeckis and Chris White's script pulls together some of the story's more random elements, but there's more setup to Geppetto going out in the boat, for example, but injects a level of self-awareness that feels anachronistic at best. Chris Pine jokes, anyone? Yeah, they made a Chris Pine joke in this, which I'm gonna have to, maybe they'll flip it on YouTube. As I'm not watching this movie, but maybe I'll watch. I
Hmm.
gotta find out what this joke is. Other choices feel more perverse. Geppetto, Tom Hanks literally builds Pinocchio to be a replica of his own dead kid. The story doesn't delve into that idea much further, but it forms a creepy foundation for their future relationship. Joseph Gordon-Levitt does his best Cliff Edwards impersonation of Jiminy Cricket, narrating and co-starring in the story, but his passable rendition unmistakably feels like a younger actor pretending to be an old and more southern than they are. Someone like Jeff Foxworthy might have made a less effective choice. On the other hand, Keegan Michael Key delivers the best performance as the conniving fox Honest John, who
Hmm.
sings "Hi Diddle Diddle Dee Dee" far better than expected. For all the Disney changes to the story, they at least preserved the con man team as an actual fox and cat, where most other adaptations use humans with bad wigs and prosthetic teeth. Okay, well, maybe they did something right. The story otherwise remains recognizably the same, with the Blue Fairy, Cynthia Evero, who gets only one scene, bringing the puppet to life and him falling victim to various temptations after literally being born yesterday. Ultimately, this leads him to Pleasure Island, an evil playground whose similarities to Disney's California Adventure make the film the second Disney live action remake after Dumbo to depict theme parks as horrible, exploitative places. Why do they keep doing this?
Disney is just completely lacking self-awareness. The whole Pleasure Island with the
Yes.
kids is not a look that Disney wants to bring to themselves. It
Well,
really is not.
in the original, well, there's that. In the original movie, I mean, growing up in the 70s, I don't know if they re-released Pinocchio in theaters, but I did get to see it re-released in the 80s, and that's a terrifying sequence in Pleasure Island because it's basically the evil
Yeah.
coachman rounds up all the naughty boys, brings them to Pleasure Island. Like Pleasure Island, you can do what you want. You can drink alcohol. I believe they were doing that. They were getting into fights,
Smoking. Yeah.
smoking. You want to take a brick and throw it through a church's stained glass window? Go right ahead. It's all this stuff, and of course, we know the results of that is eventually the boys start turning into donkeys and then get
And then they're sold
killed.
off into
Yeah,
servitude. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's a
They're
horrible
literally depicting human trafficking of children. This
basically.
is what the story of Pinocchio is, and I understand it. Back in the 70s, and when did the
This
film
one came
first?
out. The original came out in the 1940s. So this was
Okay, yeah,
like
this was a much older
on the
film.
tail end of the Depression, basically before
Yeah,
World War II. So this was kids back then.
and
They
and
knew.
and and re-releasing it and so forth. But there is now a point where Disney wants to distance themselves from that kind of messaging. They need to, you know,
This is not the movie to remake. But
not for them.
okay. But
Look, if you have a real interest in a good, faithful adaptation of a live action Disney, I'm going to drop a link for you right now. Sandy Duncan, 1976 stage performance of Pinocchio with some kind of bad special effects in the special effectsy
it's a
type part.
stage play.
But it's a stage play, yeah.
They showed this on. I think they showed this on the Disney Channel. I remember that. Yeah.
Did they? Yeah.
Yes.
This is the live action version you want to see. Save your money. Check this out. I mean, Danny Kaye as Geppetto. You can't go wrong. And it starts out with them showing the theater and they're putting together the setting the stage and so forth.
I'm having fun watching all the reviews. I almost want to see the movie just to riff it. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Some of these Disney movies are fun to watch just to watch the train wreck. Not so much the stuff like the Marvels, but like their live action adaptations of their beloved movies. Like these are beloved classics that don't need to be remade, except money. I guess. I guess it's cheap. built an audience so we can just redo it, and I don't understand it. Because why do I need to see a live action version of Pinocchio, especially when half the characters are computer animated, right?
Exactly. And that's the other thing. Is it live action if it's just a different form of animation?
It sounds like they knew this thing was going to be bad and they just dumped it on Disney Plus. I think they were probably going to try a theatrical release for this thing. I think somebody on the inside knew this was a bomb and decided we'll dump it on Disney Plus. I could be wrong. Maybe this is a Disney Plus exclusive. Always was intended as one. But why get Robert Zemeckis to direct it, and why get Tom Hanks to?
I was just going to say, yeah, you don't get those names and do a Disney Plus exclusive.
Yeah, I think they knew this was going to be. Yes, Sandy Duncan was Peter Pan. Also,
yes, she was.
She was a big deal stage actress.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I don't know.
Oh, and one more selling point for the Sandy Duncan Pinocchio. There's this great interchange because, of course, Danny Kaye's playing Geppetto, Italian, right? He does this really terrible, comical Italian accent, and there's this whole bit. Who's a you? Who's a me? Who's a you? My mother still to this day quotes that all the time. We laughed so hard about
You
that.
didn't get all offended.
Nobody got offended, for crying out loud.
Let's see though. Yeah, Tom Hanks. I watched that Elvis movie over the week, the new one. And
Was it good?
I'll let you decide for yourself.
Maybe I'll just stick with the Kurt Russell film.
Here's the deal. It's odd. I'll say it's odd. Maybe I don't want to damn it completely right now. It's part of the expression. I'm sorry, but it's almost focused on the Tom Hanks character of the Colonel. It's almost from his perspective. I guess they were trying to go for the whole Amadeus, Salieri, right?
Sure.
Okay. Do I want to talk any more about this? You can read the rest of the review. It's.
Here's the thing everyone I think needs to remember when we talk about these horrible abortions of films that are coming out that everyone is ripping on. If you're gonna watch it, find a way to not give them your money, because whether you like it or not, whether the film is good or not, whether it's something that's going to be beloved by you or not, if they get your money, that's a vote in favor of it. That gives them all the latitude to keep making this shit.
Pinocchio was released in theaters in 71. It's re-released in 71, 78, 84, 92. I saw it in 84. I remember. I think I was like 7. Yeah.
Yep. My mom.
For that, yeah.
My mom said that she saw it in 71. She took me again in 78. Yeah.
It's interesting because 78. Okay, and it's a. Heard mixed reviews of Elvis, but all seen Oscar Butler's Oscar worthy. Yeah. It was done by the guy who did Moulin Rouge. Did you like that one?
I did like Moulin Rouge. I really like the soundtrack from it more than anything.
Well, maybe give Elvis a chance, and you make up your own mind. I'm a little mixed.
Well, soundtrack there, I'm a little bit more concerned about. Right?
They're adding a lot of newer music into the old Elvis stuff in the background. And then they have him playing the classic tunes, which is good. He's a really
I'm
good
very much an Elvis purist, so I might struggle.
You might have an issue with if you're a purist, but if you're curious, he does a good job. The actor does a good job with Elvis, I thought.
I'll tell you, I'm such a purist. When we did that rewatch of Blade Runner 20 whatever, I forget I want to say 2014, but that's not right.
What?
I don't know.
2019?
2019, whatever.
2029?
Whatever it was. Yeah, that movie, right?
I don't know.
There's that little snippet of the hologram of Elvis.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to the music and I'm watching it really close and I'm like, oh my gosh, did they actually use footage of Elvis for this? And they didn't. Because I was trying to place the exact recording of Elvis that they used and I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, It's really close to the Aloha from Hawaii, and it's also really close to the comeback tour. But I couldn't. It's not exact. It wasn't. It was someone else recording it, and the actor, did the motion capture for the Elvis. I was like, my goodness, they fooled me, you know.
If they had timed it correctly, they just could have used the footage from this movie, put it in there because they do
They
as
wouldn't do that.
I know.
They did it lovingly to the point where a real Elvis fan is having that kind of a reaction to it. It sounds like this Elvis movie not so much.
Well, judge it for yourself, but I'm not going to push it on you either, if you know what I mean. Okay.
I'm getting to the point where I don't want to see anything Tom Hanks is in anymore, to be honest with you.
I have to say though, getting back to Pinocchio, did you see the Dumbo remake?
I did not.
I
refused.
marvel at that because I they made a movie this Dumbo movie. It does like the whole beginning part of like the whole like first third of the movie is basically just the original Dumbo story, and they get past it, and then it's about Dumbo getting in the circus. The one guy wants to buy out the attraction, and it's this guy has a theme park, and he's played by Michael Keaton, and he acts just like Walt Disney. His theme park reminds me of Disneyland. They're Burton made Walt Disney the villain in a Disney movie. That's what he did, and I
And
don't know if he
Dis
expects.
and the Disney company right now is probably all behind that too.
I don't know. It was very, very bizarre to me. All right, so Bob Iger back in the spotlight, huh? Or at least in this article.
Yeah.
Typically, I would not want to listen to what he has to say, but he's bringing up points about traditional TV film biz. Okay, he says the traditional TV film biz face world of hurt as streaming transforms entertainment. I'm going to bring up his points.
There's some real irony to the things he says in this
Yeah.
article.
So here we go. Bob Iger shared a pessimistic outlook on the future of movies and traditional TV in an interview Wednesday at the Code Conference in Los Angeles. The former Disney CEO was, however, particularly bullish on the growing number of streaming services embracing Madison Avenue, including Disney Plus, but predicting that not all of the current market entrants would survive in the long term. Advertising will thrive in the streaming world, Iger told moderator Kara Swisher from the stage at the Beverly Hilton. I think what Netflix is going to do in advertising, what Disney announced, those are smart moves because it's going to give consumers choice. Iger took a dim view of the movie business in theaters, making clear he doesn't think movies ever return in terms of going to the level they were pre-pandemic. Um, okay. He went so far as to say the success of big streaming shows like House of the Dragon and The Mandalorian has led him to rethink some of the conventional wisdom he used to believe is true. The movie industry used to argue that you couldn't create cultural impact without people going to the movie theater around the globe that same weekend, he said. I don't agree anymore. I probably made that argument at some point. Another notion he forced to rethink, he admitted, was the prospects for Apple TV Plus succeed as quickly as it has. I was on the board of Apple when they decided to go into the streaming business of television and movies, he said. I thought it would take a long time. They've done better than I expected them to do because it wasn't a business they were in at all. Iger said he was still bullish on Disney because the company has leaned hard into streaming and its dependence on the rapidly declining traditional media business was buffered by its success with theme parks. He was less sanguine about the fortunes of other unnamed conglomerates who weren't as diversified. If you're just in the channels business, you have a world of hurt, said Iger. Iger was not asked, nor did he comment on the reported tensions between himself and successor Bob Chapek. Iger said, Iger said he spends most of his time in retirement advising a series of startup companies in which he is invested and working on a sequel to his first book, which is due in 2024. He batted down any suggestion that he is interested in running for any political office or even sitting on the boards of any major companies. Iger was pressed about the circumstances surrounding his ascendance to CEO at Disney in late 2004 and early 2005. He disputed the characterization that his predecessor, former Disney CEO Mike Eisner, kneecapped him on the way to the top job. He noted he currently has a good relationship with Eisner. Iger recounted Disney's flirtation with buying Twitter in early 2017, a potential deal he characterized as coming very close to coming together until he had a last-minute reservations about the incivility and hate speech he saw as rampant on that social platform. In a comment that echoed the current controversy surrounding billionaire Elon Musk's pursuit of pursuit of Twitter and the prevalence of bots on the platform, he noted that Disney's assessment of the volume of users on Twitter concluded that a quote-unquote substantial portion were not real, he said, declining to specify any percentages, but making clear it was short of being a majority. Okay. Last I have here to say, excuse me, when Fisher pressed him on his opinion about Musk's action toward Twitter, he replied, maybe he saw what I saw. He woke up and said, I can't handle this, but he doesn't seem the type, and I mean that in a complimentary way. All right. Iger back in the news. What do you think of these comments, Troy? I mean, I think that there's still a place for movies in theaters. Maverick proved that this summer.
Yeah, this is why I said this is a very ironic, the things he's saying, because you look at his tenure making these decisions and contributing to the market that he's commenting on now. And I don't think he ever understood this market, right? and I think people are still figuring out. No, I take that back. They pretend that they're still trying to figure it out, but the reality is they know. And you've even pointed it out just with the last one. This whole idea of, we know we have a stinker, we're going to throw it on exclusive, and we'll claim that we're doing it to try and bolster our streaming service, but the reality is it's no different than the old Disney model of crappy sequels that they're throwing directly to DVD.
Yeah.
You know.
And that was a big thing that Eisner was behind before they had the big changeover, remember? And then you got Iger, and you said you'll be right back. Were you gone?
I was, yes.
Okay,
but my timing was perfect.
Okay. I think, though, I don't know. I think cultural impacts, you could have that in the theater. You can have it on television, obviously. Going back into the 90s with shows like The X-Files, later on, The Sopranos, Game of Thrones, these were big deal TV series. And that's essentially how I see streaming. This is just the replacement for cable, and it's just on-demand cable where you get to watch your show as you want it. It's not so different than what we've had before, at least as far as content goes, I'd like to think. Granted, I don't know if you would have hour-and-a-half Stranger Things episode on a cable channel, but...
Yeah. It's a different distribution model, but when you change the medium, it also gives you certain freedoms and other limitations as well.
But I really don't want to see movies go away, because I'm sorry, if theaters go away, movies go away, that's basically it for movies. It's not going to be the same. And that might bring me to the next article, unless you have something else to say about this Iger article.
Nope, that's it.
That was interesting. I mean, I've had my issues with the man, but he was raising up some interesting points. Like I said, I don't think he knows everything, but I don't know. He says that cable and satellite are in a world of hurt right now, though. What do you think?
And, well, I think this
too much.
And there is, I mentioned a new medium and a new distribution model, and I think that when you have a new tool, you need to use it right, and they're not using it right now.
Yeah. All right.
But, yeah.
Oh. Why does everything on Netflix look like? Here we have a Vice article. Don't worry, we got a Blaze article. We are balanced here. Iger's ego and obsession to acquire Star Wars is what torpedoed John Carter of Mars. Interesting. I remember seeing that. I remember actually being impressed that Disney was actually trying to make a John Carter movie. I said, I used to praise Disney years back, because I was saying, you know what, they're at least taking risks, which is more than I can say for a lot of studios, because they made a John Carter movie. They made a Prince of Persia movie. I
honestly feel like
better than it was, but yeah.
We were talking about Black Hole earlier. I definitely see a correlation between the Black Hole and its execution and marketing, and John Carter of Mars and its execution and marketing.
Why does everything on Netflix look like that? Yeah, this is the article from Vice. I've noticed this too. I've been watching some Netflix original movies because I'm temporarily a family member temporarily subscribed to it. So I have been watching some of this stuff, and I'll go ahead and read the article. Okay, against all odds, this may be a little wordy, so interrupt me if you think I'm going on too long. Okay, but I tried to shorten it up. But this is an interesting piece, and it's explaining a lot of why I'm not that impressed with stuff that's directly on streaming. Against all odds, Netflix's adaptation of The Sandman is a very good show, but why does it look like that? You know what I'm talking about, the so-called Netflix look. Netflix
Yep.
in-house produced television shows and movies tend to all have the same look and feel to the point that it's sometimes really distracting. Although it's hard to pinpoint what exactly makes all Netflix shows not all Netflix shows look the same, a few things stand out. The image in general is dark, and the colors are extremely saturated. Especially in scenes at night, there tends to be a lot of colored lighting, making everything look like it's washed in neon, even if the characters are inside. Actors look like the makeup is caked on their faces, and details in their costumes, like puckering seams, are unusually visible. The most annoying to me, everything is also shot in an extremely conventional way, using the most conventional setups to indicate mystery or intrigue as possible, to indicate that something weird is going on. The framing always has a Dutch angle, for example, or more often, just having everyone shot in a medium close up. In other words, you don't get that artistry you would get with,
Yeah.
You get the kind of artistry that you get from a first year, film student. And I think that is the underlying reality of why it is the way it is.
it just sounds like this stuff is being made to order. Like, you may go. It's like going to a chain restaurant. You know what you're going to get, but you don't always. And sometimes you like that, but you don't always. I don't want to do a food analogy. Never mind. Throw that out. People do
Okay.
that too often. Yeah, I didn't. Okay, let me go on and read the art. Okay, much like you can instantly recognize a sci-fi channel production by its heavy reliance on green screen, but
Yeah.
not as expensive generated special effects, or a Hallmark movie by its bright, fluffy pastel look, Netflix productions also have a recognizable aesthetics. Even if you don't know what to look for, it's so distinct that you'll probably be able to guess whether or not something was created for Netflix just based on a few frames. The Sandman, despite having great writing and great acting, suffers from these aspects of the Netflix look. Although the main character's domain is the world of dreams, often in the most dramatic moments are reduced to scenes of characters talking in medium close up. Fans of the show have also gotten frustrated by the show's aspect ratio, which makes the frames look like they've been stretched upward. Tom Sturridge's face looks especially made up as Dream. His lips are so red they're almost distracting. Worst of all are the muddy colors, especially because the comic that the Sandman is adapting has such an exuberant color palette. J.D. Connor, an associate professor in cinema and media studies at USC, told Motherboard that the reasons for the Netflix look are varied, but one important reason is that Netflix requests some basic technical specifications from all of its productions, which include things like what cameras to use, Netflix's minimum requirements for the resolution of the image, and what percentage of the production can use a non approved camera. It started as a big topic in the cinematographer community, Connor told Motherboard in a phone call. Netflix had an accepted camera list for its Netflix branded products. The initial list, while there were ostensibly open parameters for what cameras might qualify, there really were only like two. And yes, you can do a ton within those parameters. But it meant that this was one way that the uniformity emerged was through the real insistence on that. Netflix's list of approved cameras on their partner Help Center website now has a lot more cameras than just two. The company explained in a video why its list of approved cameras with Netflix camera system specialist Chris uh, Piergrocki saying unhelpfully, one of the biggest priorities for us as a studio is helping our filmmakers do their very best work. We want our filmmakers to not just feel enabled, but also encouraged to use the latest and greatest capture technology out there to tell stories. Connor said these cameras are important to Netflix products beyond just wanting creators to use new technology. The other thing that really drove a lot of this, they did what they call future proofing their content. They wanted it all to be shot in 4K HDR, he said. It isn't a totally unreasonable idea to want to make sure Netflix content still looks good when 4K televisions become more common, but it does limit your options as a filmmaker in terms of what technology you can actually use. 4K video files are also extremely large, and when compressed through streaming, that compression changes how the image looks to the streamer. It's also important to note that Netflix, which charges customers more for the full 4K experience, a basic subscription costs $9.99 a month, while premium Ultra 4K subscription costs $19.90 a month, also has a financial incentive to increase the amount of 4K content in its catalog. When it gets compressed and jams through the cable pipe or the fiber to get to your television, Netflix takes as much information out of that as they can through compression in order to reduce the amount of data that's going through so you have a smoother streaming experience, he says. One of the weird things that happens when you have a very high resolution image in general, when you shrink the amount of information, the edges get sharper. Connor said to think of it in terms of movies from the 1970s, whose visual effects look great on the huge screen because of the film grain blurs some of the details, but much worse on a smaller television. But when you take a movie like the original Superman or something and put it on a television, all the edges get really sharp. All the blues look really hacky, he said. Something quite similar happens when you take a big 4K image and you jam it through a massively compressed amount of data to put it on your TV. All this helps explain why Netflix productions look uncanny, but some of the unpolished details are due to a more mundane issue, money. Connor described the budgets of Netflix projects as being high, but in an illusory way. This is because in the age of streaming, above the line talent like big name actors or directors get more of the budget that's allotted to Netflix projects because they won't get any back end compensation for the profits of the film or television show. They're overcompensating at the beginning, Connor said. That means that all of your above line talent now costs on the day the series drops 130% of what it costs somewhere else. So your overall budget looks much higher, but in fact, what happens to try and save all that money, you pull it out of things like design and location.
Yeah. So you may not have realized this, but this is going to be one of those triggering ones for me. I got some things to say here. There's that line where it says something about wanting to future proof, right? We want to make sure it's in high definition so that, in the future, whatever. You want to really future proof it? Film it. Use film. There's a reason that that song Last Christmas from the 80s, the video was released in high definition because it was filmed on film.
Okay.
Good old-fashioned film contains all the information you need to upscale when you want to go to DVD or HD
film
or
is
whatever.
Expensive.
Then don't do it. You get what you pay for. You want to future-proof it? You got to put the money in.
Okay.
You want to cheap out? You're going to have shit.
35 millimeter film can get upscaled. I heard not upscaled, but I guess it can get up close to 4K. I listened to a YouTube video where some guy was explaining how traditional 35 millimeter movies, they can get close to 4K, like more like 3.8K. They can get up there. I assume 70 millimeter could probably that would have no problem. The issue is HD is cheaper. You don't have to worry about, camera stocks and development. It's just there, right?
Well, look, it's like I said, you get what you pay for. You cheap out, you're going to have shit. You want to have a good preservation? Do what needs to be done, right? And here's the other thing. A lot of people aren't talking about this, but there's this imagination, right? That going from videotape up to 4K, sky's the limit. We can keep getting higher and higher and higher resolution. No, you can't. The eye can't see at a higher resolution. We're pretty much at the level of human ability to take in. It's getting to the point where it's such high resolution that looks uncanny. Because it's like, wow, it looks sharper than real life. Yeah, we've gone beyond real life.
I'm not understanding the purpose of an 8K television, but I've heard 4K. You can get the full immersion of 4K, but you have to have like perfect 20/20 vision or wearing a good set of glasses and had a good night's sleep. Okay, otherwise you're not going to get those. You're not going to fully appreciate the 4K. And I know with 8K, I don't know. I don't think a human eye can really see that. And I know that they have done experimentation. They have 8K televisions being developed now, but
And David makes another excellent point. I hadn't considered this, a little more technical than I know, but there's also the fact that with film there's only one process, standard. But with HD, there's been several standards which are always changing. So you, in other words, don't have any consistency.
some HD movies look good. I know Robert Rodriguez has done a lot with HD cameras. He knows how to work them well. I know others were not so good. It just depends. It's funny what I was equating HD to was the old Super 16 film stocks. How it was better than 16 millimeter, but not quite what 35 millimeter would be. You see a lot of independent movies being shot that way, and movies I have seen that way or I had on DVD. I actually tried to
And
upscale
look,
them to the Blu-ray. 'Cause
we're
they don't look
talking
right.
about an art form here, right? And sometimes the choice of camera, the choice of stock, the whatnot is an artistic choice. To this day, I mean, look at Tom Conkle's film, "Trouble Is My Business." There's a reason he wanted to do it in black and white. He could do it in color. He could do it in vibrant color, but that wasn't the canvas he wanted to paint on, right? There are filters in After Image and some of the other video editing things to put grain into it, to look like film or to look like a 70s TV show or something like that. Sometimes that is an artistic choice.
Yes.
Desaturation, right? Sometimes you don't want the best of the best reality looking. You want, and sometimes the things in the edge that are out of focus or whatever is an important element that a director is consciously aware of, right? Remember that boom technique or that zoom technique that you got in Jaws, and you've had it in other horror films and whatnot, where the depth behind the subject grows as the camera zooms in on him. You know, these are artistic choices done by the director. And when you have a company like Netflix saying, well, you can only use these two cameras and it's got to be this way and that way and the other way. Well, you know what, Netflix, you make the movie your fucking self, which I guess is basically what they're doing. It's also why they're fucking going bankrupt. Because the good companies with good artists are either with the bigger companies or they're independent.
It's funny, though, because there's a paragraph here that says television movies also, generally speaking, don't have to look like that. Connor repeatedly mentioned Tokyo Vice as an example of a show with particularly rich production design and other works at HBO, like the drama Station 11 and the comedy Rap Sheet. Also put in a great time and care into their visual presentation. And it's weird because I'm kind of a film nut. That's my main nerdy thing. I love movies and well done TV if it's well done like a movie. And I would love Tokyo Vice. And now I'm wondering, was it the story and the acting, or was it also how it looked? Maybe that's what drew me in. I didn't think about that. And maybe it didn't look like one of these typical television shows, either on network TV or Netflix, where it had a richer look to it. And that might have been what drew me into it. Yeah.
If you're doing something like The Sandman, okay, there is a kind of stylizing that you want to do. They're absolutely right. It is, you're talking about dream, right? And a lot of the stories take place in dreams. So you want to stylize your thing to convey that. But you also, if you're being a good storyteller, you're going to change your filming style for different segments of the thing. This is what it looks like when you're in a dream. This is what it looks like when you're in reality. This is what it looks like when you're seeing it from this person's point of view. You think that through. You don't just go, okay, it looks like shit, and it's warped around the edges, but that's because we're doing a story about dreams. Yeah, no. You're just making excuses for your shit decisions and your the limitations of Netflix. The bottom line is exactly what I said. Netflix is on its way out. They're putting out shit product for cheap, and they're losing more and more market share. So you're seeing the last days of Netflix.
Deleted Scene says Netflix's upcoming All Quiet on the Western Front remake looks really good. Every 30 to 40 years they make another one. Looks like this one will be entirely in German. Well, this might be good, so maybe they'll get this out before.
Well, and in fairness, okay, so is Netflix actually making that themselves, or are they carrying someone else's film? See, that's where Netflix always excelled, was just being the conduit for someone else's product.
What I think it might be, maybe it's being made for like the German market, but then also being sold over here. So maybe there you go. European production too. I don't know. I don't know.
I give Netflix no credit if that's the case.
DC Comics. No segue. Just going to jump right into it.
Well, we absolutely could. I mean, Netflix, the Sandman is a DC property.
That's true. In fact, was Dr. Destiny a Sandman villain? Because he showed up on Justice League, the cartoon.
He was not specifically, but I wouldn't have been surprised if there was a lot of characters in the DC lineup that made, if not direct appearances, at least cameo appearances within this rather dark Vertigo, titles. So there's actually the character from the Batman and the Outsiders, Metamorpho.
Oh, okay.
There was a female analog character. She had the same powers he did, but the same deformities and so forth. She has a really great storyline. In fact, it's her demise storyline that takes place. And I don't remember if it was Sandman or his sister Death. She had a couple titles too. Very I don't want to say it was a dark story, but it was a sad story. But yeah, they did that kind of stuff with their properties. So yeah, if there was a character that was on, I think Psycho Pirate actually showed up in there too.
I'm sorry, I hear Psycho Pirate and I bring up Batman the Brave and the Bold, which was the wacky Batman show that they made after, not really connected to Batman the Animated Series. And every episode, Batman shows up, and before we even see traditional Batman villains, he's fighting all these other villains from the DC universe, and he sees Psycho Pirate, and he's always like on a first name basis, like he always talks like an expert on every villain. Psycho Pirate, I know, like he always knows what this villain, even if it's not a traditional Batman villain, and.
Because that's Batman's thing, right? He's done his research. He knows,
but it's done to a ridiculous level on the show. Sure. Like he always knows. It's like you can't know the motives of every single villain in the. Yes, I do. I'm Batman, and I almost felt like saying, Psycho Pirate. That's not really a Batman villain. Listen. There are no Batman villains or Aquaman villains. Just heroes and the villains that take them down.
That's actually a very good point, right?
To say that, yes, it's. Oh, I did love that cartoon, but okay, let's get back to DC Comics, huh?
We didn't leave it. We've been on DC this whole time.
We're going to be on DC again. Okay, DC Comics releases special covers for Hispanic Heritage Month, and it backfires spectacularly. Now, we touched on this last week.
We spoke specifically about the Kyle Rayner
Green Lantern cover.
Green Lantern, but turns out that and this was the argument that Skipper Kenner brought up. He's like, well, it didn't actually go to press, although the fact that they made it at all is pretty bad. Yeah, it didn't go to press, but it they went all the way with it. They went to inking and coloring and layout. They were ready to go to press with it. Well, come to find out that it wasn't the only one they were getting ready to go to press with.
Yeah, let me read the article. DC Comics released covers for some books to honor Hispanic Heritage Month, but the ham-fisted effort backfired on the company very quickly. Twitter users began complaining that the Hispanic Heritage covers appeared to simply show some superheroes with Hispanic foods like tacos and tamales. DC Comics really said Hispanic Heritage Month. DC Comics really said Hispanic Heritage means putting tacos in their characters' hands, and that's it. This is just weird all around, responded one critic. DC Comics wants you to know Mexican superheroes go around doing hero things while carrying a bag of tamales, tweeted another critic. What the actual F? Asterisk, DC Comics. How incredibly insulting. My culture is more than freaking tacos and being a server. Okay?
Yeah.
Replied another detractor. The cover showed Green Lantern character with a bag of tamales floating out into space, another character grabbing plates from a fried plantain shop, and Blue Beetle jumping on rooftops in the city with more Hispanic food. The furor worsened when one of the creators involved said that DC Comics appears to have edited his contribution in order to add tamales. Jorge Molina said that he drew up the image as an homage to Jorge Gonzalez Camarena, respected Mexican muralist.
We took a closer look at that one last week, but that's the most egregious one because he did some great work with a clear homage to a specific piece of artwork, and somebody over at DC trashed that entirely. Put tamales in his hand in a plastic bag and swapped out the actual Mexican flag for a green flag that says
Viva Mexico.
Viva Mexico
at the end in English.
With bad with improper Spanish what do you call it? Punctuation. You know, it's like you literally took everything that was right and made it wrong, and you think you're somehow honoring, and that's just it. This is what it comes down to. This is what the virtue signalers are doing. What they're actually doing, instead of saying, look how great I am, I want to honor somebody's culture, they're actually saying, look at me, how racist I am. And how much I other people. People. This is what I think of those people.
This is a theory I have on what it's saying. Perhaps these staff members say maybe the only thing they appreciate about like Latin culture is the food, and that's the only thing they can connect to, so that's what they throw on these covers. That's what I'm thinking.
But it's what is even more mind-boggling.
They pat themselves on the back just because they're doing
is
it
when you have somebody, have an artist who actually is of that culture, who knows what he's doing, and you think you know better than him?
Like you could ask him and talk to him.
You
about
white
it.
savior, you. You know, and although we don't actually have it in the notes, go check out. There's a clip going around of Susan Sarandon talking about her role in the upcoming Blue Beetle film, and you can hear it in her voice. That othering that she does. This is the first superhero who's Latinx, and he has his own superhero film. And it's like, just shut the hell up.
And of course, she makes it. Oh, and I'm of course the white industrial complex. Ha, I'm the villain, of course. And it's like.
Well, and actually, I'm like, well, okay, yeah, I agree with that. You know, I mean, you are the villain to begin with, like right up front. You are the villain. I've just been listening to you.
You know what I'm thinking? But I made the comment in Paulie's video. I was saying, why are they interviewing Susan Sarandon? Why aren't they interviewing the actor playing the Blue Beetle? I mean.
You know, it's the Hollywood circle jerk is what it is. Yeah, she's their, in quotes, royalty, so that's why they want to get her, right? And this is how you get these kind of stupid ass takes. you know. But you know what? You bring up Paul. Yeah, go check out Latino Slant. He's got a great video about this.
Yeah.
He and Mikey the Mexican Iron Man, they get pretty hot about this, and rightly so. This is just ridiculous bullshit. This kind of stuff is what flies in the face of why people get pissed off about all this, in quotes, representation, because this ain't representation. This just ain't.
Disney needs to. I'm sorry, DC, not Disney.
Yeah.
I don't know. I keep waiting for the hammer to come down over there. I'm starting to get a little impatient. They need changes over there, big time. I know I've heard rumors that Zaslav is going to bring the hammer down. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, if you guys want to see some real honoring of Mexican culture in Mexican Heritage Month this Saturday, over on Netter's Network, she's doing a rewatch of the Book of Life.
Book of Life, yeah.
Book of Life. And Paulie, Latino Slant, and Mikey the Mexican Iron Man are going to be guest hosts. So we will be getting a direct, authentic take on Latin culture and how it applies to this film. So
I have not seen this movie. I guess they must have been impressed
good.
with it too, if they're going to be on it. Okay.
Cool, it's good. I mean, you don't have to know thing one about the culture to enjoy it. That's what makes for a great movie, right?
Just don't insult the culture.
Exactly. No, exactly right. And this film does not. It's really good. Well, again, it's made by people who know the culture, just like, the original Kyle Radin cover that we were just talking about. So
yeah. So I think this is a bit of a dud. This can't be good for DC's image right now, all this stuff coming out. Right?
Well, and actually, Mr. Mashik makes a great point. He says, when did they make Kyle Rayner Hispanic? Isn't he like half
his
Hispanic,
mother.
half?
I think it's on his mother's side, yeah.
Yeah, he always was, but they never focused on it before. So that is kind of odd, right? It makes sense for them to focus on the new Blue Beetle, but Kyle Rayner, it's not the first one you think of.
I think they were trying to think, what characters do we have with the,
which is fine. I mean, that's what we've been saying. Quit doing the race swapping and go with characters
the existing characters. Not that when these characters were created, they were specifically saying, I think it's just how do we make this character?
No, but they did decide, and I thought it was brilliant when they did it, whether it was Jon Stewart or Kyle Rayner or whatever. It's like, why? If you're going to have a different, and there was absolutely necessary story reasons for them to need another Green Lantern and to do something with another Green Lantern and whatnot. Green Lantern's a very different ball of wax than, say, Batman, right? Yeah. Batman, you want to add to the Batman family. You bring in Batgirl, Batwoman, you bring in Robin, you bring in, whomever. Green Lantern is a member of a corps. And there's a whole galaxy of representatives. But if you need another one from Earth, well, why are you going to go with another white guy? You can go with anybody. Could be a woman, could be black guy, could be whatever. And so they do that, and that makes perfect sense. And you go, okay, good. And then you go, I totally forgot that Kyle Rayner was half Hispanic. Didn't really come up much in story. But okay, good. Oh, he's Hispanic like he goes and eats tamales. He's that kind of Hispanic. Okay. He's Hispanic like I'm Hispanic then, right? Yeah. But you're also right, Mr. Mastic. That is racist. What DC did was racist. And they are showing their racism.
Yeah, it's just...
And I thought you were going to say something, Boomer. I thought you were going a different way with what you were saying. I thought you were going to say that somebody in the story room said, "Well, the average reader isn't going to understand it, so let's make it Hispanic for the average reader to understand."
No, I don't think they care what the average reader. I think this is about them.
No, I could hear someone saying that though, but that's equally as patronizing both to the culture and to the reader.
I think people that sometimes they stand up and they say, "Oh, we're all about diversity." They don't really care about learning about these diverse cultures, but it's more about crapping on.
We want to tick off the boxes, say that we're cultural, and give us money.
Yeah, and,
not realizing what they're actually doing is pushing money away.
Like
they're literally doing the opposite of what they think they're doing.
Nothing wrong with Mexican food. I went to a Mexican restaurant the other weekend, but that's not all that culture is about.
And and I have Mexican friends who will say the same thing. Well, when they share it, I go, you know what? I totally get what you're saying because I feel the same way about Italian food, right? You go and you get Mexican food. There's truly authentic. There's American believing authentic, and then there's Taco Bell, right? and no one is going to convince you that Taco Bell is authentic Mexican cuisine. But I have a lot of Mexican friends.
Taco Bell's authentic cuisine, period.
Well, good point. But I have a lot of Mexican friends that like Taco Bell. They don't think it's Mexican, but they like it. Just like, I like American pizza. I don't think I'm eating Italian cuisine, I mean, honestly.
Are there any chain Italian restaurants you'd go to, or is that just no?
I don't really know any. I was struggling as I was getting to that analogy,
Olive Garden, Carrabba's.
Okay, wait, no. Olive Garden is a great example. Olive Garden is an example of it is not in any way, shape, or form Italian cuisine, but I love it.
It's not bad, yeah, but I know it's not yeah.
I guess you got me there. So Olive Garden would be to Italian food what Taco Bell is to Mexican cuisine.
Yes.
Okay,
maybe so. But like I said, Taco Bell, there was that whole controversy over there being oat bran in the meat mixed in with the meat, right? That was the thing a while back.
And this is the kind of thing people freak out about, and it's like, I think to what my grandmother used to say. Did you like it before you knew what was in it? Because if they take it out, it's not going to be the same thing.
Nope.
And let me tell you something. Whenever my grandmother and my mom used to make anything with ground beef, whether it was burgers or meatloaf or whatever, they mixed it with breadcrumbs. So what's the difference if you use breadcrumbs or you use oatmeal? Might actually be better for you if it's oatmeal.
Maybe. Latino Slants video about the Sarandon Blue Beetle situation. Yeah, you can check it out. There's a link there.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and it seems like every time I make a reference to someone else, Deleted Scenes is out there finding those links. So
I've been trying to get better with that too. For instance, in the
it's impossible when you're hosting the show.
No, you can't do it while you're hosting. But when I did the Red Sonja thing, and you brought up Nerd Cookies Rings of Power video,
yeah,
and also the Midnight's Edge video on Red Sonja, I posted links in the description.
Guys, I'll tell you, every reference we make here is worth checking out. Yeah. Every time we mention another YouTube channel, they're worth subscribing to. But Nerd Cookies, that voice. I have no idea what this girl looks like, but she has a beautiful voice. I'm
very curious.
I could listen to her for... No, I don't want to know. I am just happy with, no image of her and just listening to that voice. It's beautiful.
Mr. Matchstick is 7 subs away from 50. Follow him at... Oh, yeah, and subscribe to Mr. Matchstick. We will be on there this Tuesday for another episode of Culture Fortress. The last episode of, I guess, this particular season. But we are going to be... Troy has his subjects. I have mine. You're going to be talking about what? Friday the 13th? But not
Friday the 13th, the series.
Yes.
I told this story last night on Big Al's channel. Mr. Matchstick, sends me a note, as he does when we got a Culture Fortress coming up. What's your topic going to be? I said, have I done... Because these things run together in my mind. Between Culture Fortress and Good Old Days, I can't remember what the hell I've talked about and where and when. And I said, have I talked about Friday the 13th, the series? And he goes, no, you haven't. Next message. There was a Friday the 13th, the series? And I laughed and I said, well, it's not like, it doesn't really have anything to do with like Jason Voorhees or anything like that. It's not like, Freddy's Nightmare, which was actually about, Nightmare on Elm Street and that storyline. His response, there was a Nightmare on Elm Street series? I'm like, okay, I'll get into all that on Tuesday.
You would have had to have been living at the time, though, because if I
That's true.
A decade later, I wouldn't have
That's
heard of
true.
Friday the 13th the series. So, on to some gaming news. Troy's favorite subject.
I was going to say, take it away. No, I have nothing against it. It's just I am a complete noob when it comes to this stuff, and I rely on you to see. Sometimes I send you articles, and you're like, nah, it's not worth covering. Okay, it sounded like news to me because what do I know,
Slow news week, but I figure, what the heck, this has been making attention. PlayStation boss slams Xbox, says Call of Duty PS5 deal was inadequate.
See, and you read a title like that, and it's just word salad to me. It's like they just threw words together. PlayStation boss slams Xbox. I know is a game system.
Okay.
Call of Duty. I think that's a title.
Yes. You've never heard of Call of Duty?
I may have actually played one, like the first one.
Okay.
It's a World War II game, right?
It started out that way. Then the big changeover was when they did Modern Warfare, and they started doing modern settings, which basically Modern Warfare was wink wink Iraq War. Okay, they didn't call it Iraq, but you can tell that's what it was.
See, that was what drew me to Call of Duty in the first place. Was there was actually a game where you did the invasion of Normandy,
Well, the idea of this was they had done too many World War II games and they wanted to do something different. Now, to be fair, they still did World War II games after that one, but they switched off and they started, because they had different teams working on them. They said, let's have the one team, let's try setting it in modern times, making it like Modern Warfare. And that thing was a huge hit because it's just it's dealing with like the war on terror, at least at the time, and all that stuff. It was based on that. But let's go into this. PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan has heavily criticized Xbox's handling of the Call of Duty franchise after its console rival purchased Activision Blizzard in a landmark and highly contentious deal. According to Ryan, Xbox has offered to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation consoles like the PS5 for just 3 years after Activision's deal with Sony concludes, a deal he calls inadequate. Ryan's comments follow Phil Spencer's statement that Call of Duty will remain on PlayStation consoles for several years. Spencer said that this deal went well beyond typical gaming industry agreements, though, according to Ryan, Xbox's proposal isn't agreeable. I hadn't intended to comment on what I understood to be a private business discussion, but I feel the need to set the record straight because Phil Spencer brought this into the public forum, Ryan told GameIndustry.biz. Microsoft has only offered for Call of Duty to remain on PlayStation for 3 years after the current agreement between Activision and Sony ends. So I guess Sony has an agreement with Activision that they needed, that Call of Duty was signed on for PlayStation for how many years? When that ends, Xbox will give them 3 additional years, Microsoft. Okay, and he goes, after almost 20 years of Call of Duty on PlayStation, the proposal was inadequate on many levels and failed to take account of the impact on our gamers. We want to guarantee PlayStation gamers continue to have the highest quality Call of Duty experience, and Microsoft's proposal undermines the principle. Spencer released a statement in the midst of an investigation into Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard by the Competition and Markets Authority. The UK regulation said that the deal could significantly weaken PlayStation, and Ryan's comment suggests what he believes the same. Call of Duty has been a mainstay on the PlayStation consoles for nearly 2 decades and remains one of the best-selling gaming series worldwide. Xbox making it a platform exclusive would certainly be a damaging move for PlayStation 5 and future PlayStation consoles. In other news, a new PSN leak has revealed many more details about Assassin's Creed Mirage. Okay, I don't care. Okay, moving on to this statement. Now, I'm not exactly the biggest Microsoft fan. I do like the Xbox console I have, but,
well,
it does look like they're trying to form a monopoly, but you're going to interject.
That's why. No, I was just going to point out what Mr. Matchstick's commentary seems really, from my limited understanding of what you're talking about. I think Mr. Matchstick's what he's saying is very poignant. He says PlayStation are being absolute whiny hypocrites. Sony is. Well,
it starts there. Okay.
And then it leads into Sony is scared of Call of Duty being Microsoft exclusive, so they are making a hoopla about it. While for the longest time, Sony was massive on exclusives. Enough, even though Microsoft is being pretty clear that they are interested in keeping Call of Duty on other devices, Microsoft did the same with Minecraft. They bought it and kept it on PlayStation and Nintendo.
Okay.
So now you're talking my understanding, right? I may not know who all the players are. I might not know the product, but I understand the business model.
Yes.
And this idea of monopoly versus diversity,
Yeah.
And it's an age-old business argument. It's protectivism through a monopoly, or reaching as much of an audience as possible by diversifying.
Yeah.
And as with most things, the best option is probably somewhere in the middle.
This is my opinion on this. Now, I don't know if Microsoft, they said 3 additional years. They could maybe give them more years. Regardless of what I think, they have legally bought Activision. They do now legally own Call of Duty. They can do with it what they want.
True.
Sony they have no obligation to release it on their competitor's console.
Right.
Sony, nut up.
Right.
I'm sorry.
And
I
No, you're absolutely right about that. Again, I don't have a dog in the hunt. I'm just being objective about the business.
About the old days of when it was Sega versus Nintendo. And let's say Final Fight comes out on Super Nintendo, and of course it's not going to come out on Sega. Eventually it did come out on Sega CD, but if Sega realized that Nintendo had something that they didn't have and that it was popular, you know what Sega would do? Can we make our own equivalent type of game and put it on our console? We'll have Streets of Rage if we can't get Final Fight. We'll have Shining Force since we can't get Fire Emblem. That's a Nintendo exclusive series. They would make their own games to get people on their console. They were self-sufficient. Instead, Sony likes to make their artsy-fartsy games with ugly-looking characters. I'm sorry, I said that out loud. I'm just and rag on Japanese indie developers for making sexy women. I'm just getting tired of this. I'm getting tired of Sony. And like I said, it's not that I completely trust Microsoft either. I don't, but I'm sorry if they bought Call of Duty. I guess Call of Duty's so popular, I figured at this point it would wane. I guess people still play it for the online.
And here's my general comment on this.
Yes.
When you start talking monopolies, you are artificially protecting your profits. And instead of excelling to gain market share and putting out the best product possible, you put out the only product and you get gruel.
Sony used to have its own exclusive shooter series. It was called Resistance: Fall of Man. It was like an alternative history.
One I played all the way through to death. I loved that one.
Yeah.
That was a great one. That was not and see, this was right on this is what kind of drew me away from Call of Duty, because I had problems getting it installed on my system. It wasn't quite working right. And then I was at work and somebody had a console in the rec room, and one of the few games that was there was Resistance: Fall of Man, and I started playing it, and it was awesome. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah. And they could always bring that back in a big way if they can't get Call of Duty. And I'm sorry, a lot of the professional gamers, too, a lot of the ones, they tended to like to play first-person shooters more on the Xbox consoles because I thought the controller is more suited. I know one guy watching the line, he says, third-person shooters, I like to play on PlayStation because of the controller. First-person, I like to play on Xbox because of the controller.
I'll tell you what. With what Mr. Matchik is saying, if PlayStation does buy EA, they're only buying it for their properties.
Hey,
buy the properties and fire everybody at EA.
They could do some decent, like EA had decent shooters at one point. Like they had Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor, it's funny. Call of Duty came about because the team that made Medal of Honor left EA and they went over to Activision, and then they started Call of Duty. Because Medal of Honor started out, Call of Duty started out as like a Medal of Honor clone. That's what everybody kind of forgets. I do want to say one thing, Matchstick, though, but Sony is reacting to this, and maybe not in a way you might like. I think I heard today that they have bought a 30% share in From Software.
What's that?
From Software makes Elden Ring.
Oh,
They're the development studio. I mean, Elden Ring is published by Bandai, but Bandai Namco, the Pac-Man people,
Gotcha.
you know. But yeah, so I don't know. Sony just stop with the artsy games. I'm sorry. I know people like them, but
well, I wouldn't say stop, but I would say, don't make that your primary focus.
it's funny because they did a remaster of Last of Us. They're getting hammered because they redid Last of Us Part 1, the first game, and they said remaster, new remake, totally new, and all they did was remake the graphics.
Yeah.
The old gameplay is all the same underneath it. And one guy was complaining online. He said, they made the women uglier in this new remake. Everyone looks uglier. Everyone looks busted. And he was complaining, this is the whole progressive thing. You have to make everybody ugly so no one's beautiful. Okay.
Right.
What's the next article? Is this the segue into? Yes, of course. Speaking of beautiful, perfect segue. Ana de Armas breaks down in tears as Blonde stuns with 14-minute standing ovation in Venice. Now, of course, Blonde, not what I would necessarily think of geek culture. Obviously, Marilyn Monroe is a pop culture icon. I mean, she's her Elvis, James Dean. I mean, these are major stars. But I did find this interesting because there's all this controversy over her casting. And I keep wondering where this controversy is coming from. Because
I don't think it's real. I think it's just like so many other things where they're trying to say, one or two comments that someone made offhandedly. Oh, it's a bunch of racists, and it's all.
I'm sorry,
sure
if it's someone anonymous online, it could just be a troll trying to get kicks. It may not even be someone who's even politically motivated. Either way, it could just be guy messing.
Or it could even be a critic that made some offhanded comment about her accent, and they blow it all out of proportion for marketing reasons. But look, I think that's a loser of a marketing push. It doesn't earn you any points. It only hurts the overall look. But cream rises to the top, and Ana de Armas. Well, okay, let me stay away from the cream, analogy. Let's get away from that. But the fact is, she's awesome. Okay. She is good, and the product apparently is good. I haven't seen Blonde, but I've heard good things, and that a good product stands on its own. It doesn't need a shtick and flim flam from the marketing department.
Enter Dominique's Blonde debut to amass a 14-minute long standing ovation during its world premiere at the 2022 Venice Film Festival. Ana de Armas, who plays Marilyn Monroe, was in tears at the screening, her face glowing as tears streamed down. Before the film's world premiere, Brad Pitt, who was among the film's producers, de Armas director Andrew Dominique, Adrian Brody, and Julian Nicholson created commotion on the red carpet, largely for Pitt, who worked the crowds wearing a black COVID mask when he came into close contact with fans to sign autographs and do selfies. Pitt made a surprise appearance in Venice since he was not present at the film's press conference earlier in the day. Dee Gardner, who is also among Blonde producers, was also on hand. The biographical drama, based on the novel of the same name by Joyce Carol Oates, is one of the most anticipated titles of the festival due to de Armas' casting as the Hollywood icon. Co-star Brody also shed a few tears. Pitt was visibly pleased. Blonde reimagines the life of Marilyn Monroe from her volatile childhood as Norma Jean through her rise to stardom. The supporting cast includes Bobby Cannavale, Brody Nicholson, Xavier Samuel, and Evan Williams. The film debuted in competition at the Venice Film Festival. Ahead of its world premiere, Blonde earned some blowback from moviegoers on social media due to de Armas' casting. Viewers were critical of de Armas' accent in the film after an official trailer was released at the end of July. The majority of complaints about de Armas' casting noted that she maintained her Cuban accent and did not channel Monroe's breathy vocals. The Marilyn Monroe estate defended Arma's casting despite not being involved in making the film. Marilyn Monroe is a singular Hollywood and pop culture icon that transcends generations' history, said Mark Rosen, president of entertainment at Authentic Brands Group, ABG, which owns the Marilyn Monroe estate. Any actor that steps into that role knows they have big shoes to fill. Based on the trailer alone, it looks like Anna was a great casting choice as she captures Marilyn's glamour, humanity, and vulnerability. We can't wait to see the film in its entirety. De Armas previously told the Times of London that she spent nearly an entire year working on her Monroe accent for Blonde before filming started. The actor said, "It took me 9 months of dialect coaching and practicing and some ADR sessions to get the accent right. It was a big torture, so exhausting, my brain was fried." Netflix will open Blonde globally on September 28th. So, maybe this is
I mean, it sounds like the effort was put in. She may not be perfect, but I can't really imagine.
Looks-wise, I'm sorry.
Looks-wise, she's spot on.
Hard.
I mean, she's beautiful to begin with, but I've seen a lot of pictures online of famous shots of Marilyn Monroe with, her doing the exact same pose or whatever, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And then, you compare it to her other films and you go, what a transformation, it really is amazing. Deleted Scene says they always talk about length of standing ovations and whether somebody walks out. They never say whether a movie is worth seeing. Honestly, with Blonde, though, everything I've been hearing is positive. It sounds like it could actually be that in this particular example, it's not just her that is getting the standing ovation. I think it's also the movie to some degree.
And we'll see.
That's not always the case. I'm just saying in this particular case. But yes, Matchstick is right about that too. Brandon Fraser is another one who's very deserving of it. I don't know. I've heard good things about The Whale as well. That could be another one where the movie as well as the actor is getting that standing ovation. But Matchstick is right. Brandon Fraser he has not gotten his due, in my opinion.
He's hasn't. He's a very underrated actor.
Very underrated.
I think he's had a resurgence. He was on that that DC series based
Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol, yeah. So I don't know. Might be good. Might be worth checking out. So we'll see if Blonde is any good when it comes out. I do like her. So, and I'll be blunt. From the trailer I saw, I wasn't hearing an accent. I haven't seen the rest of the movie, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
we're talking about.
I gotta say, this might be one example of where I think maybe the naysayers are, on the wrong side of this and are just looking to pick on her, because you gotta really. I've seen a few clips, and it sounded fine to me. And that was before I realized who it was playing the role.
Oh, you didn't even know who it was, yeah.
I didn't even realize it was her. And then when I did, I'm like, oh, yeah, I know she's got this, and I think it's a beautiful accent, but she's got a thick, Cuban accent, and I didn't hear it in the clips that I saw of Blonde. So I'm like, yeah, she's doing pretty good. And then people start ripping on her. I'm like, this is an example of one screen, two movies. What are you watching?
I don't know. So we'll see when it comes out. I'm curious about it. I do like her. I think it's black and white too. So if Netflix made a black and white movie, good on them. Maybe this is
going back to what I was talking about, right? Sometimes you make these artistic decisions for a reason. Not just to cover over your stupid mistakes and your limitations on cameras and stuff.
So, last article of the night. The Crow reboot to film at new production facility. I saw this. I was desperate for news this week, and I'm like, they're making a Crow reboot? I didn't know about this. Did I even mention this?
I do have to. I think we mentioned it when it first was announced, but we didn't know much at the time, so we kind of glossed over it. And I don't remember Go back and watch old shows and find out. You can tell me I'm right or wrong.
Yeah,
but
I have.
If I know me and
okay.
if I know me and I don't always know me, I probably said something about why do we need a reboot? Just do another story, move on to something else.
Myself, I feel like I need to clone myself and just put myself at different tasks.
Well, and see, isn't that it? You got to bust your butt so hard to build a channel, and to get monetized, and then you don't get to keep the money because now you're going to have to put the money into hiring people to build your channel. I got to hire an editor, got to hire an art guy, But I saw the kid they got playing. I want to say, what is his name? Eric? Is that the Crow? Is that his name?
I think. I haven't seen the movie in a while.
It's been a long time.
Do you own a copy of that movie?
I don't think I do.
So I'm saying you're going to get to your season a bit, right?
I was going to say, yeah, right. I did read the comic, and
okay.
So and then of course there was the whole Brandon Lee thing and
that was tragic.
Yeah, very tragic, which added a kind of sick, mystique to the film. But given that, maybe it's not a bad idea to remake it. Because there was a lot of compromises that were made to accommodate the fact that the actor died during filming, and maybe it's worthwhile to revisit the idea and maybe learn a thing or two from Brandon Lee and that film production, and maybe Rust, and start being a little more careful with firearms on sets. Just saying, But yeah, let's see what they do with this, and maybe they will continue it as an anthology the way it was intended. So, in other words, the kid they got playing the Crow in this movie will not be the Crow going forward, because every movie would have a different Crow, exactly.
So The Crow, Rupert Sanders' reimagining of Alec Proyas' 1994 cult classic, has found a place to roost. Really?
Yeah.
The Crow will be the first major international production to film at the new Penzing Studios. A backlot recently opened in a former Air Force base in Penzing, 30 miles west of Munich, Germany. All virtual production on The Crow will be done at Penzing, with location shoots in Prague and Munich. The production will also carry out the majority of its digital asset creation and visual effects work in Bavaria, Germany. The Crow reboot stars Bill Skarsgård, who played Pennywise the Clown in the 2017 and 2019 hit horror movies.
thought he looked familiar, yeah.
Yeah. In the titular role, originally played by Brandon Lee, who was accidentally killed on set during the production of the first movie. Danny Houston co-stars. Like the original Sanders, The Crow is also inspired by the 1989 James O'Barr comic, which introduced the Crow character, a man brutally murdered who comes back to life as an undead avenger seeking justice. The 1994 movie was a critical and box office hit and gained a fervent cult following. 3 more Crow films followed, all with different stars. The Crow City of Angels with Vincent Perez, The Crow Salvation starring Eric Mabius, and The Crow Wicked Prayer with Edward Furlong.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Mark, DeCastro.
And I'm gonna say that for all the talking about representation and stuff like that, I will say that some of the casting choices they went with for some of those sequel films was probably not the best, because going by the source material, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get a woman in there. It wouldn't be a bad idea to get people of different ethnic backgrounds. That would be on brand for The Crow.
Because that's what it
is. A string of white guys doesn't make a lot of sense for The Crow. It really doesn't.
Well, I heard Harvey Weinstein interfered a lot in the production of the second one.
Of course.
Mark DeCasco.
Well, in that case, maybe it's a good thing that they didn't cast any women as The Crow. Just talking about the behind the scenes stuff, but yeah, there's those of you that are fans of that comic line. Very, very well, they're all tragic story. The concept behind the Crow is just very tragic. But one of the Crow characters was a woman who died while pregnant, and she comes back. Yeah, it's very dark, very sad, and that's what these stories are kind of meant to be. That's not always a bad thing. Sometimes those kinds of stories are good, kind of cathartic.
And that would do something different instead of having a different.
Yes,
you'd have a different villain each movie. You'd have the Crow, but it'd be a different, because it just goes when the person's done seeking their justice, then it's over.
The only thing that ties them together is the supernatural nature of a revenant coming back from the dead to avenge their own death or some injustice.
Kind of creepy, right?
It should be. It should have some real horror elements to it, you know?
So
kind of that Conjuring type of thing, you know?
The Conjuring. The Crow reboots came crashing to Earth. Yeah, I know that. Okay. Most recently reported clash with Sony over financial issues led Hardy and Momoa's exit. Okay. Producers Hassle-Free Productions, Electric Shadow Company, Davis Films, and Edward R. Pressman Film Corporation hope they have found a winning combination with Sanders, best known for 2012's Snow White and the Huntsman, starring Kristen Stewart and Chris Hemsworth, and 2017 feature Ghost in the Shell with Scarlett Johansson. Okay, well...
Deleted Scenes got it for me. It was a graphic novel called Flesh and Blood, was the one I was referencing. Yeah, sometimes I don't remember the titles. I just remember the story.
Flesh and Blood. Okay, cool. We'll see. I'm not sure how keen on this director I am, but we'll
my concern for the marketing and for Scars, what's his name? Skarsgård?
Yes, I think he's related to the other Skarsgård. Yeah, I think he's his brother.
Is he?
I think so. I think they're related. Okay. Yeah.
He, I'm just concerned that he's going to end up becoming the remake actor. You know, he's done it. Now he's going to do.
I hate to break this to you. A lot of actors going forward are going to become the remake actor because Hollywood doesn't want to try anything new.
At least this kid can say that when he remakes something, he's done a good job of it. You know.
Actually, if they're different Crows, couldn't they just do a different story?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's no reason they have to remake it.
Just do it like a sequel.
That's why I don't really understand it, but I guess they can. I don't see why not. But if they're going to do that, then their subsequent sequels really should draw from the source material too.
I agree. Yeah. That's the thing. You can get a lot from comics, and I know they've gotten a little better with that. Well, at least they were for a period.
And there's only a limited number of Crow comics out there. You do, I don't know. What are there, 5 stories out there? 10? I don't know.
Well, that's enough for a movie series.
Yeah, I was going to say, do your movie series from that. If there's still a demand for it, start making original stuff.
You start doing original stuff.
You see what the formula is after having done that many movies. Just do more like that.
Like with the Tomb Raider movies, I wish they would go back to the old Top Cow comics. They used to do like these 4-part things where they were like James Bond style adventures.
Dude, we can say the same thing about Star Wars and Indiana Jones. There's been so many great stories already written that could be just adapted.
They're Indiana Jones comics, right? They could adapt from those.
And don't get cute. Just use the story as it is. You don't have to, I mean, this is where Zack Snyder would excel. You want to do a comic book adaptation? Say, here's a comic story. This is Indiana Jones and the Lost City of Atlantis. Okay? Use this and adapt it just the way you did with The Watchmen. Just treat the comic like it's a storyboard, and we'll be good.
I got a bad feeling about what's going to happen with Tomb Raider when it eventually gets remade again.
I got a bad feeling about what's going to happen with Indiana Jones when it's finally released.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I'm not hyped. I will say the director, he's done good movies before, but someone else I think is going to have her hands in too much in this.
Absolutely.
We'll see. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised when I watch it way after it's out of theaters. Unless
maybe monkeys will fly out of my butt.
In order to get me to watch this Indiana Jones movie, it has to be like Maverick style interest, like word of mouth, like and it going on for a while for me to get me back. Because I'm still sore over those Star Wars movies, and just
Everyone is. Even people that aren't Star Wars fans are.
it's just you don't put your audience through. You don't mess with your audience like that, and I'm just
Not
fed
if
up
you
with
want to
it.
continue to have an audience.
And I want to give a warning to whoever's making this Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones ain't Star Wars. I used to joke years back that there was you could make a movie about Yoda's left ass cheek and that just be on the screen for 2 hours, and there will be Star Wars fans that will go and see it and defend it. I used to
Yeah.
make that joke. Not everybody, obviously, but not with Indiana Jones. I don't know that he has the pull that Star Wars does. So you just better make a good movie. That's why you do it. That's what Maverick did. You think you think Gen Z was like, oh wow, I really want a sequel to Top Gun? They went to see it probably because it was a good movie. They heard word of mouth.
Well, let
You
me
know?
tell you something. Maverick would not have had as much of a draw if there had been a previous Top Gun film that was comparable to Crystal Skull. Okay,
Yeah, that's true.
and this is the whole that the Indiana Jones film. Even if Indiana Jones is a good movie, it's got to be a great movie to overcome Crystal Skull, and it ain't gonna be. I can tell you that.
Crystal Skull.
I don't need any, minions behind the scenes at Disney giving me leaks of information from behind the scenes to know what they're up against and what we're almost certainly going to get.
Why did they do aliens? And I
I
understand.
got why they were. They were the transitioning from the 40s to the 50s, Nazis to the Russians,
Listen, I get if George Lucas and Steven Spielberg liked those old alien movies from the extraterrestrial stuff from the 50s, but just then do a new series, do a new trilogy with new characters, and have it based on those types of movies. From
I don't
the
think that
50s.
was the problem.
That would have been
though, Boomer.
interesting. That would have been interesting. I would have been all for that.
I don't think that was the problem, though, Boomer. I get the idea of the ancient aliens kind of archaeology story. That wasn't the problem. The problem was the character stories. The
Right.
Indiana Jones development and the son and all that went around it, to be honest with you. If that stuff's not there, the main plot isn't going to work either.
At least they brought Marion back. I'm the only one that likes Willie. Everybody hates Willie.
Oh, I like Willie. It's just
She's a
that they're-
pain in the ass, but I like her. I'm sorry.
But she was not the kind of character that
He's
you
gonna
could
marry.
see.
I understand.
Yeah, having in
I
his
understand.
life. She was great for that movie. I didn't see bringing her back though. It wouldn't have made sense. Although I wouldn't have been opposed to some line drop about her, like what happened to her or something.
Crystal Skull wasn't that bad, to be honest. I'll say
Yeah.
this: Indiana Jones himself was left alone. I think, really, if you think about it, the character, did they mess with him too much? He was still Indiana Jones, right?
True. That's
It's
true.
not like he was drinking.
I
blue
do.
milk.
I do have to say though, what's that kid's name that played his son?
Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, I felt like he was the weak link in that film.
His acting chops weren't where they were supposed to be. I've heard him complaints on other films. Maybe he's gotten better since then.
We need Short Round to come back though. He's the one that
I'm worried Short Round's going to come back and he's going to get killed in the first 5 minutes.
Oh, for fuck's
That's what I'm worried about, because that's what.
Oh
they
yeah,
to do.
like Jimmy Olsen in Man of Steel, right?
Oh, that was ridiculous. I forgot. No, it was Batman versus Superman. I think Jimmy Olsen's in there, and he's working with the terrorist group, or working with Luthor or something, and like he gets killed. And it's like that's if Jimmy Olsen. I keep forgetting what they did to Jimmy Olsen in that movie. I glossed over it. Zack Snyder, what are you doing to me? Just no.
Yeah.
Stop. Just.
This is what I'm saying. When Zack Snyder is working from
He's just
a
doing a
single
straight
source
adaptation,
material,
yeah.
he does fine. When he's given free reign, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
That about wraps it up. I think that's
Yep.
it. What do you got coming up this week? We got Mr. Matchstick on.
Yeah,
Tuesday.
that's the big one I'm looking forward to on Tuesday is Culture Fortress. And if I'm not mistaken, Matchstick, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is going to be the last one, at least for a while. You're kind of
Yeah.
putting the Culture Fortress on hiatus for a while to focus on some other things. So yeah, come check out. I will going into the Halloween season. I'll give you some recommendations to check out.
Yeah, we're not going to do. If we get done with October, funny. I almost thought about doing the Evil Dead movies, but maybe I'll save those for good old days. We'll see. But
Okay.
yeah, remember,
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing classic game compilations by Konami. They're available on your modern systems. Retro gaming is a pain in the ass, but it doesn't have to be. You can just get these collections, including the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga collection. Also, we talking about the 2 Castlevania collections they put out and the Contra collection. So I'm going to show you
when they upgrade
how to
these
retro
movies,
game on them. When they upgrade what?
When they upgrade these
games,
games,
yes.
do they just take the graphics and make everyone ugly? That's what my understanding was.
Not
from
with the
previous
16,
segment.
not with these 16-bit games. In fact, they do add enhancements, but the enhancements are optional. You don't have to use them, and they're neat. The enhancements
Do the female characters get enhancements? Just wondering.
I'll say this: with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters, you can play the Japanese version of Tournament Fighters, where Asuka has a different sprite. You get to see a little more something on her, okay? Because in Japan, she was a few more flesh-colored sprites. They drew her differently. Like she's not bad. She's just drawn that way. But you can see it in the Japanese version of this. Okay?
Nice.
She's like this female ninja fighter you can play in one of the Turtles fighting games. So yeah. And to be fair, her American version, they redrew her for the American version. She's not bad looking in that either. But there's something about the Japanese version as well.
Sometimes you see these characters, they're basically cartoon characters.
Yeah, cartoon characters.
And when you see them, you're like, I wonder if that's based on anybody, you know?
Sometimes they are.
Because sometimes they have, and I don't mean, below the neck features. I mean facial features. Sometimes you look and you go, that's a very specific look.
Did you know Magica De Spell from the DuckTales comics?
No.
She was based on Sophia Loren.
That makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
The artist was in love with Sophia Loren, who was drawing her, So.
That makes perfect sense. Zootopia, thank you so much. He says, great show tonight, guys. Thanks. Absolutely. We enjoy doing it, and we super appreciate when we get feedback like that. It actually does mean a lot to us. It makes us want to keep doing it,
So
Wednesday night.
Nothing this Wednesday night. Birdman had
a week off. Huh?
Yeah, something. Yeah, he's dealing with some personal stuff, but we'll be back at some point. In fact, I think the next movie we'll be doing will be the third Dirty Harry movie, The Enforcer with Tyne Daly.
But I think we pick on Birdman a lot. Definitely go check out his channel. Check out some of his old videos and leave a comment and a like. It's very encouraging, and I think he could use some encouraging. I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. And this Friday, what do you have going on?
This Friday, I have, another special guest. Special guest behind the bar is Andy Masterson of Laboratory of Mayhem. Those of you in the community probably know him as the guy who does the custom 12-inch action figures of some of your favorite YouTubers like Doomcock, Gary of Nerdrotic, Heel vs. Babyface, Drunk 3PO. Does a custom figure and sends it to them. And if you check out his videos, you can see him almost very ASMR type videos of him actually carving not carving, what do you call it? Sculpting the heads for these 12-inch figures. And so we're going to be talking the toy industry in general, but specifically custom action figures.
Cool. And so you'll talk about how you put Marge Simpson's head on He-Man's body, that sort of thing, right?
Well, you joke, but yeah, some of the customs that I do are something very much like that, where, for example, I bought a Super 7. Is it Super 7 or Reaction? Whatever that company is that's doing the 3 3/4-inch action figures. I bought 4 of their Cornelius figures from Planet of the Apes. Where no, it's not Planet of the Apes. It's the one where he and Lyra go back in time, and they're wearing the spaceman outfit.
Mm-hmm.
I got 4 of those because I'm going to customize them into the spacemen that are in the background of the cantina, the Star Wars cantina.
Oh, neat! I remember them. Yeah,
Yep.
from the movie.
And I love the fact that because they are 5 points of articulation, they would totally fit in with those retro old style Kenner figures.
I could be wrong, but I think in the radio play, Luke talks to one of those spacemen because he's wanting a ride, and that's when the guy points him. You'll need the guy with the Corellian freighter, and he points him over there. I think that was a thing.
Actually, well, there was actually more than 4 because there's 4 that are actually wearing helmets.
Yeah.
The one that's not wearing the helmet that he talked to, I want to say his name was like Zach something or other.
Yeah.
He actually has had an action figure, so I've
okay.
I've actually gotten that one, but a lot of people get multiples of him and repaint the spacesuit. I said nope. I'm gonna go with the because that spacesuit that is used in Planet of the Apes. Somebody said that it's one of the ones that actually appears in the background. I'm like, okay, that works perfectly then. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff I do. I did a head swap of. I used the body of Dr. Savazin, the he doesn't like you, I don't like you either, that guy. I take his body and I swap the head out with one of the characters from what was the first prequel movie? Phantom Menace, one of the pilots from Naboo, and I make Art Carney's character from the holiday special. So yeah, cool. I do the head swapping and stuff like that, and sometimes that's all it takes to make a really, really cool custom figure. But no, I'll finally be showing on camera the figure I've been talking about a lot, the Christopher Reeve Clark Kent figure that I did. You finally get to see it on camera.
I want to see it. Okay, so you'll see a premiere of the Christopher Reeve Clark Kent.
Yep.
Geek Talk says missed the stream. Hope it was a good one. I'll have to catch it later. Well, you're welcome anytime, Brandon G. Okay.
Absolutely. And I've actually, I think, did we schedule an upcoming one to get you on my channel, Brandon? I think so. Pretty sure we've got that going for October. So go ahead and subscribe to him now so that you'll be all caught up by the time we get around to the show.
Yes, everybody sub to everybody because, as Troy says,
we all grow together. Well, I'm stealing that from PJ over at Orville Nation, but it's true enough for all of us. We definitely grow together, and that is my goal. I figure if you're here watching us on a weekly basis and you like what we do, you'd probably like some of the people that that I enjoy as well. So.
And if you haven't, if you don't have time to watch the whole stream, I did put up a little clip video of our talk about the new casting for Red Sonja, and you can hear Troy go on a little bit of a rant.
yeah, I think that one's. Everyone expects to hear me go on a rant at least once a week, but I don't think Boomer was expecting me to go on a rant on that particular one.
No, because I'm like, okay, well, I didn't realize though you brought up the whole Gail Simone situation, and
yeah. But right. And then one last thing, repeat what I said earlier today. Saturday rewatch over on Netters Network, Book of Life with special guests Paulie Latino Slant and Mikey the Mexican Iron Man. I think it's gonna be a good one.
That'll be an exciting show. So that'll be.
Of course, guests are always subject to change. People have lives, and that's the nature of live streaming. But that's what we got scheduled. And then, of course, that brings us back to next week, where we'll have who knows. We can't give you two.
No,
because we don't know what's going to be happening this week.
All the Disney announcements that we missed this week, and I'm kidding.
Somebody posted. I don't remember who it was.
Disney remakes of favorite movies.
Somebody posted the. They always have that slide that shows the upcoming logos for all the different movies. And the person that posted it said, "Wow, at least 5 of them are remakes or sequels or whatever." I said, "And not a single one am I at all interested in."
Yeah. All right. Till next week. Y'all have a good week.
Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye bye.